Mark, a great quote that caught our eye, which was immediately why Eddie was like, we need to get this man on again. And it's because you said, with all the moving parts, basically you said that there's currently too many unknowns to get a good handle on what an appropriate valuation is for Tesla. You see it as potentially a train wreck. Is it?
Well, it could be. I mean, I think if you have a stock that's down 70%, I think that's the beginning of a train wreck anyway. If it isn't in its own right.
Well said.
But I do think that there are. First of all, it's a great company. But one of the things that we try to spend a lot of time doing when we're looking at stocks is trying to separate the difference between a great company and a really good stock. And I do believe it's a great company. We just don't believe it's a great stock right now. And some of the unknowns, have been pretty well documented. Ed talked about some of them. When you go from having over a three-month wait list to get a car to none, when you see price cuts in China. Now, granted, China's a little different market, but they do have competition. Yeah. So how long until those price cuts come to the United States? And so you put those things together, and then trying to figure out what's the appropriate price for this? What are you supposed to pay for these earnings? And there are a lot of people that will say, well, now it's trading at 24 times. I think it's 24 times, something like that. So it's down significantly. And it's down 70%. So that must be okay. And that's not the way I think investors are supposed to look at it. And what I meant by unknowns is because we don't know. Because it's unclear how long the price cuts are going to have to keep going in China, whether they're going to come to the United States. Why would you jump in now? Why wouldn't you just wait to let the dust clear? Because I don't think it's going to get away from you.
I'm currently looking at estimated PE, currently trading at 30 times that, so maybe even more elevated to a certain degree. Mark, what do you need to hear? Is it the cult around Elon Musk, the way he can talk up a stock? Is it the fundamentals that you need to see change in China or yes? Is there anything that could be fixed that would immediately make you go, this is getting back to a good stock again?
I wouldn't say immediately, but certainly there are some things. I think the rhetoric, I mean, one of the interesting things, and I said this in a meeting yesterday, is when's the last time Musk tweeted something that was silly? I mean, he does it a lot, but I think he's starting to get it. I mean, I think he's starting to get that much of the things that he's doing outwardly is not helping Tesla. So it appears he's backed off of that. I do think, I mean, demand's the issue, and frankly, it's not just the United States. Ed talked about Ford. They've got really good, robust competition in China. I think it's waiting a quarter or two to see where is demand really going to shake out. And the other thing Ed said, they've sort of had this market to themselves for quite a long time, and there are other companies that can make good EVs. Certainly, Tesla makes a good EV, right, but other companies do as well. I mean, the Mustang's pretty cool, actually.
Hey, Mark, I just want to point out real quick, you guys do hold Tesla shares, don't you?
We do own it. I will be quick to tell you that we are underweighted. We're benchmarked to the S&P 500.
Okay.
So we own it, but we're underweight. And frankly, if you have a second, I'll talk a little bit about that, because I think to us, the volatility of Tesla, both on the upside and the downside, is such that we think being out of it completely exposes you too much to the S&P 500. So we are underweighted.
That's kind of a sort of market structure or dynamics point. Yeah. We showed a banner essentially on the show a second ago about Tesla's expansion plans in China being on pause. And what Bloomberg reported overnight was, according to sources, this plan to double the capacity of the Shanghai plant to nearly 2 million vehicles annually is on hold due to influence from the Chinese government. The concern is that Elon Musk, who is also the CEO of SpaceX, and SpaceX offering the Starlink product is concerning to the Chinese government, because if Starlink would be able to use in mainland China, it could bypass Chinese firewalls, etc. I'm just bringing you the Bloomberg reporting latest on that. My question, how core is the China story to a name like Tesla, and how closely are investors like you watching the economy in China?
It's very important, and I do think, actually, it's interesting. I think the reporting that you just talked about is likely correct. I also wonder, how much of the putting it on pause was, we see a lot more competition now than we did 6 months ago, a year ago, and therefore it might be prudent to slow your roll a little bit rather than go full force. But we do look at not only do we look at the number of vehicles that are being delivered, we do look at geography. And China, I mean, China's a big market, and that's why there are a lot of other EV players in there. So it is important.
Can we talk a little bit about Disney? My understanding is you have a very small holding of Disney, but we've talked in the show about what's happening with activist investor Trian Nelson Peltz. Does Peltz have a point? That is the question.
I think the short answer is absolutely. Let's look at a couple of facts. One is, I think the issues with Disney start at the top, and I don't mean Bob Iger, I mean the board. I think the board has sat around and watched this company since 2016 underperform the S&P 500 by almost 60%. But for one director, they've all sat through all of that. They also sat through trying to figure out how to find a successor for Iger year after year. I mean, I think it was 4 different contracts extensions that he had before they ended up picking Chapek. But he does have a point, and I think that in many respects, Bob Iger, there's a halo around Bob Iger, and people say, well, but it's Disney. Well, it is Disney, but the performance of Disney has been miserable, I think that Nelson Peltz. I'm not a big fan of activists in general, but I think that he can bring a discipline to. He may be able to bring a discipline to Disney that's been lacking, whether it's on expenses, whether it's on M&A. There are a lot of things that Disney has done wrong. But again, everybody has this soft spot in their heart for Disney and soft spot in their heart for Bob Iger. But at the end of the day, for us, it's an investment, and that investment has not been very good. So, having one of 12 seats be Nelson Peltz, when he's come and been very honest about, I'm not looking to replace Iger, I'm just, I think they could use some strategy help. I think that Peltz might be able to help them.